again. This is a lovely Sunday afternoon on the Grand Union Canal, New Bradwell. But we're not going anywhere today. We're going to talk again about my water filter system. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out one of the filter housings and remove the carbon block filter from this system. Now, this isn't because I've suddenly decided it's useless and I don't need it, but for another reason, which I will tell you about in a minute. So let's start by taking out one of the filter housings. Okay, that's the old filter housing out. So what we need to do is reconnect the hose. And our water filter is back and ready for service, just with slightly fewer filters. So why have I taken out one of my filters? Let's go and have a look. Well, here we are in my none too tidy galley, and you can see my filter housing is now sitting in the sink. And the reason I'm doing this, well, there's two reasons. Firstly, the carbon filter is excellent at filtering out sort of nasty taste and so on out of the water, but it's not actually needed to make the water safe per se. So I thought, why don't I put the carbon filter just before the tap, rather than before a tank which it gets stored in for 2 weeks to fester and turn nasty, so that as it comes out of the tap it is beautiful, perfect drinking water. And then the other thing which happens is that the excellent John from Direct Water Filters, and I'll put a link in the description, has given me one of these. And this little thing is an ultraviolet sanitizer. So the water goes in one end, there's an ultraviolet light which kills anything nasty. Again, it comes out the other end, so I've now got two things to turn the water beautiful. And then finally, I have got a tap, which I can connect up, and I can have one single tap, which I'll put here also, like that. And I can then have lovely drinking water, beautifully clean and sanitised on tap, without worrying too much about how long it's been sitting in my tank. So that's the idea. Now, I'm not going to show me doing things because it is blisteringly hot in here, and I've got a massive fan running, and I can't have it running when I'm filming. So basically, I'm going to do a bit and then film it and show you what I've done, then do a bit and film and show you what I've done. My first job is to empty that cupboard there so I can get access to all of the plumbing. Well, here is my cupboard denuded of its shelf, which is here. And obviously there's not a very lovely piece of sort of hardboard at the back, which is looking a bit tired and horrible. This whole thing's looking a bit tired and horrible. So I'm going to take that out, and then that'll give me more room to work and more room to put the shelf back in. And I really am going to have to consider replacing this cupboard at some point because it's pretty minky, but there you go. Okay, well, I've taken the backboard out, and it's barely any more disgusting than the backboard was. So if I give that a bit of a sort of desultory wash, it's actually not quite so filthy as it looks on camera, because quite a lot of those are stains, not cobwebs. But we'll give it a wash, and we'll see what it looks like once we've done that. Well, that's a little bit better at least. So my first job is to install a T-piece on the cold water feed. And then the second job is to install the tap, and then I'll see, that's the sort of beginning and the end of the system. I'll be able to see where I've got room to put all the bits to connect the two together. So I'm going to start with putting just undoing one of the cold water feed and putting a T-piece with a tap on it in between that and the cold water pipe. So I'll do that now. Right, that's the T-piece installed and not leaking. So the next thing to do is to go to the other end and drill a hole for the tap. So let's do that. Okay, well, it may not be the neatest hole in the world, but it is a hole. And so our next job is to get the tap fitted. So let's do that. Okay, we're getting there. We have the outlets and we have the tap, and we have to plumb it through the filter with this hose here, which is nice and flexible so it can go anywhere, and then we have to plumb it through the UV bacteria death machine and then up to the tap. So I'm going to get on and put the filter housing in now. Okay, so we've got the filter housing Our next job is to mount the bacteria murderer, which is going to go there, and then the pipe will come out of this end where my thumb is and curve round and up to the tap. So let's get the bacteria murder mounted. Okay, the bacteria murderer is in, so all we need to do now is to connect this length of pipe around to it, put the filter housing on, and then we're ready to do a leak test. So let's do that. Okay, the housing is in, the pipe is in place. We're going to do a leak test. So what that means is I'm going to open up the tap, I'm going to let it fill with water, and then I will deal with any leaks that arise or any weep or whatever. So let's have a look and see. So it's starting to fill up nicely. And then I'll go and open up the tap up top. And with a bit of luck, I'm going to let the water run through. Here it comes. And we haven't got any major leaks. So I'll just go through the camera, I'll turn the camera off and I'll go through it all, and I shall just check for any minor leaks, and then it'll be wiring up the bacteria murderer, and then we will be done. Hurrah! Right, well, electricity. Fortunately, the other day I put in a fused spur down to what will be a 12-volt fridge. This is my current fridge. It's not really working, it's 240 volts. The insulation has long since crumbled, so although it does get colder, it draws a ridiculous amount of power. But anyway, it was then the work of not very much work, so put in an additional wire going up to here. It may not be the neatest, but it perfectly works and it's safe, to here. And we have now got ourselves a fully plugged in bacteria murdering machine. So, let's see what it's like. Looks to be nice and bacteria free. And it tastes of water. Wonderful. So, many thanks to John at Direct Water Filters for supplying me with the parts. I have got a tidying up job to do, not least I've got to cut a hole in my a shelf so I can get it back in and put all of the stuff that was in there back in. But we have a working tap. Hurrah! If you like these videos, please do like and subscribe, and I shall see you next time. Goodbye.